Well, hello everyone. My name is Alison Woodall and I'm a relocation specialist. That means I get to help you with the financial, logistical, and emotional issues that make moving to a new state so stressful. And today I am very excited to be talking to my good friend Candice Vega about her move from California to Lexington, South Carolina. Candice, welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be with you.
Well, so I am very excited to be talking to you because you've literally just moved in the last month or so and you are brand new to South Carolina. So this whole moving experience is so new and fresh to you. But I would love to start at the very beginning of your journey because it took you quite a while to be brave enough to leave. So
years. I spent a lot of years thinking about it and mining through it and, on the fence, but really wanting to do it and just not feeling like I was brave enough or could do it.
And so if you had to say, was that like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, roughly how long?
I would say probably 7 or 8 years ago, it started to really become like an itch, like it started to feel the itch about it. And being, envious of other states and some of their freedoms and, thinking I want to be a Texan, like those kinds of things. Like I was really, California was just not the place where I wanted to finish my life, I think. And so, but my family and everything I've ever known was in California, born and raised, never been anywhere else, not a big traveler, not someone who ventures out or likes adventure. I'm kind of a homebody. So it's a big deal to do such a life-changing, make a life-changing decision, such as leaving everything you've known and your family and starting new somewhere else.
Yeah, because your husband moved with you and your 2 kids, but all your other family are all still in California.
Yes.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. In fact, my my first grandbaby was born the day I arrived here.
Wow, that makes it even harder. It makes you even braver. So you are the pioneer for your family, because I always think it just takes one person to be brave enough to make the move, and then when all the rest of your family see how great your life is, then they start to follow one at a time.
Yes. So, luckily they're very supportive. My daughter who had the baby, she understands why we left, supports why we left, and wishes she could come too.
All right. Well, and so that's what I was going to ask you about. So how did you decide, exactly which state you wanted to move to? Did you have like a list of things that you wanted from a state?
Yeah. So I actually spent a couple of years. I was never someone who was big on geography or even knew, all the states, but I started spending a lot of time in them on realtor.com and in the maps and, kind of looking at areas and doing Google Earth. I mean, just all kinds. I learned a lot, and I started to learn what I, kind of do some comparisons, what I like about that state, what I don't like about that state. And I know that, living in California is a beautiful state, but the valley for where I was living was not beautiful. It's flat and it's, there's some mountains, but, nothing beautiful. And I remember anytime I went to Tahoe or camping in the woods, I always really enjoyed the trees and thought, that natural beauty was something I would love to have. And so I decided that there's a governor in Florida that I really, really like. And so I wanted to live in Florida just because of him. So I decided to fly to Florida and then rent a car, drive through Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and eventually hit Tennessee. Those were the states that I wanted to look at. I didn't want Texas because it is so flat. I wanted the trees. I wanted the ocean. So I checked it out, and Florida wasn't exactly what I thought. It was kind of busy and kind of reminded me of California. And I really kind of wanted the country feel. I wanted the country, the home country feeling and the people and all of that. So we drove, and Florida was nice. I mean, we could have totally lived there, but we were looking for something a little bit more country feel. And then we ended up in South Carolina, and we drove through the entire state pretty much of South Carolina, and we were really impressed with the beauty, the natural beauty, the trees, the cleanliness, the people. I mean, that when they say Southern hospitality is is real. You better believe it. It is real. And we experienced that. We felt it. I made sure to talk to people. You know, we had people. We ended up on property that didn't belong to us. We were just kind of touring around, and the people that owned the property were so kind, and then prayed for us, and we're like, oh, this place is special. And so we really liked it, and we set our scope here. We ran out of time and never made it to Tennessee. We really liked it a lot here. And as you can see, my background, that is not fake. Those are South Carolina trees in my backyard.
Wonderful. Well, and so what I'm getting from what you're saying is that you did a lot of research. You got very, very clear on what you wanted. But then, even though you knew what you wanted, you thought Florida was going to be that state for you. But when you actually got there, it wasn't quite what you wanted. So you just kind of pivoted, and then you knew when you got to South Carolina, that was where you belonged.
Yeah, both my husband and I both felt it. And we just felt like this was it. This was the place.
And that's my experience as well, is when you're very, very clear on what you want, you just know when you found it. Sometimes it's not in the place that you expect, but you do know that place that feels like home. I can be happy anywhere, but there are certain places I get to and I go, yeah, this is where I belong. So now your kids, they never actually got to see Lexington before you moved. How did
they never did. They never did. So I have a 15-year-old son. Well, he'll be 15 this month. And I have a 10-year-old. Those poor kids. I mean, I talked about moving and leaving California. They understand why. They understood all of the reasons. I don't hide from them as far as our beliefs, our principles, our values. They understand it very well. And they understood why I felt it was really important to leave California, not just for my sanity, but also for my boys to experience America and to give them a little chance of a little bit more freedom, before it's all gone.
Because there's so many people who are stuck in California and they use their children as a reason to stay, whereas you used your children as the reason to leave. Even though you were slightly fearful, you put their needs and their future ahead of yours, which I always thought was incredibly brave.
And it was a really great decision because my boys have adjusted very well. I was concerned mostly about my eldest boy because he's an avid fisherman. He had 11 lakes to fish in daily. He had best friends that he grew up with, and he was happy. He was happy right where he was at. But the school that he was in, I was not happy with that, and I did not want him there, and I couldn't wait to get him out. And so the schools that they are going to now are top notch. They are excellent schools. I made sure they're in a good school district. I also made sure that I was by water so that he would have a lake to fish in, and so that their needs would be met too. And I had my mom say, you can't have everything. You can't, because I would say, oh, I can't buy over there because it's too expensive. They don't have any water, and they don't have water. And she would be like, they don't have water, so what? Well, to me, it was everything. It was a big deal. My son, his life revolves around fishing. That's what makes him happy, and that makes me happy when they're happy. And so it was important to me to give him some water. And so we live, Lake Murray is right behind us.
That's wonderful. And it is, that makes everybody's transition easier. I know for my son, he wants freedom to be able to cycle. And my husband, his dream would be having somewhere to hunt. He doesn't always get that. But when you think about not only your own needs, but your needs of your family, and figure out what those things you absolutely cannot compromise on are, and then all those things that you can compromise.
That's right. That's right. Because you want your family is everything, and you want them happy. You'll be happy if they're happy, and everybody's happy. I mean, I'm not saying, everybody gets everything they want, but if there's something that makes them very happy and it's achievable and it's doable, then I would, then you do that. You make sacrifices for the people that you love and the ones that you're going to live with.
Yeah. Well, so when you actually, obviously you and I met at that stage when you were almost ready to make that decision. I had been ready,
but I was very back and forth. Like I knew I could feel this thing inside me that was telling me to get out. You got to get out. You got to get out soon. And it was really pulling on me. But then I had my family and the fears and what ifs. And those things crippled me and scared me into making that giant leap decision, because it's the biggest decision you'll ever make. I mean, it's it's expensive. If you get it wrong, you're like really wrong. You're in a place you don't know, and you know what I mean. So you have to make sure you really know where you're going, and you know that that's a place that you all will thrive and be happy. Um, from my experience in this group has been such a blessing. I mean, all the times that I was on the fence going back and forth, I would read other testimonials, and they would say, and most of the things that I would always see was like, we wish we would have done it sooner. That was like the biggest regret out of, oh, we wish we had done it sooner. And I looked for all of that because I was so scared to do it, but I felt like it was the right thing to do. And so all of those testimonies, all of the, even the people, all of the members giving advice on, what they did or with their experience or what, all of that stuff was so very helpful. I spent probably 2 years in that group before actually doing it.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about your moving. So when you actually said, okay, we're moving, you got your realtor, you put your house on the market, and then your house closed. How did you decide which kind of moving truck to use, or moving company, or whether you're going to do it yourself or like a full service moving company?
Okay. So from what I read, ABF was the most reputable and easiest route, and actually the most affordable. Leaving California now has become very expensive, and we found that using ABF, they drop off the truck. You just and they'll even provide movers for you if you need help to load the truck. So I thought that was the easiest and most safest, reputable source, and also affordable. So that's who we chose, and that was a great process. They dropped it off when they said they would. They picked it up when they said they would, and it got to South Carolina when they said it would.
Wow.
So that was great. And what was nice is that I had a lot of time. So when I decided to put my house on the market, I started to pack things up that I was not going to need, use, or want to display to sell my house. And so that was kind of the beginning of me packing up to leave, and that kind of made it feel real. And so now I had boxes in my garage, and we're doing this. Like, we're really doing this. And it took, there was so many days where I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing this. But I'm so glad we did.
Yeah. And it is, there's that silly saying, feel the fear and do it anyway. But it's so true, because you see people in these groups who are like, wow, we left California, it was all amazing. They don't post those days when they're crying, or they're overwhelmed, surrounded by boxes, or exhausted from packing up, and they're filled with doubt. You only see, it's like anything on Facebook, you only ever see the positive side. And there are always
no, there are negatives. And I noticed too, like I knew that my daughter was pregnant, and how could I leave my grandbaby? And so I would either I would find, I don't know if I did a search or something, but I would find posts about leaving grandchildren, and those were always so helpful. Like, people would say, we FaceTime, we just we make it a solid attempt to see each other, to get on a plane and go, and that either family members would end up following them, but they had hard days, but they had good days, and they still didn't regret doing what they did.
Yeah, it is, with leaving family, because obviously all my family are still in England, and now, I left my new friends in California, I've left friends in Florida. For me, it's all about the quality of time that you spend with people. My children are so close to my parents, who they've probably seen, my kids are 13 and 14, they've probably seen my parents 10 times in their life, but they see them for 2 or 3 weeks at a time, and they spend such quality time, and my parents are one-on-one with them that whole time, which is often creates better memories than if your grandmother just lives down the road and you in theory see her all the time.
That's true. I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so anything that went wrong with your move that you would say, hey, people, don't do that, or did it all go pretty smoothly?
So I was expecting it to be very difficult. I'm older, my husband's even older than me, and I thought it was going to be hard. I thought I really wanted to rent I wanted to make it fun and like adventurous and kind of like a vacation. And we have dogs, so I wanted to rent an RV. Um, but there was so many RVs leaving California that they didn't have the fleet for me to do that, to take one and leave, not bring it back. And so yeah, so they're like, I'm sorry. I'm like, can I drop it off in another state like Georgia? No, we don't have the fleet. I'm sorry, it has to go back. So I'm obviously not going to drive it back. So we ended up driving my husband's F-150 with 2 boys, 2 dogs, and my husband and I. And I thought, oh, this is going to be something. We had it packed to the hilt with everything that we were going to need to live on, because our truck obviously was going to be about a week after, probably delivered a week after we actually got into our home. So 2 weeks, one week driving here, 1 week in the home. So we would need things for about, to live 2 weeks. So we pretty much packed the truck. Stopping at hotels, that was the kind of hard part, because we'd have to take the puzzle apart in the back to get out, our bags, because everything had to be packed just right. Otherwise you wouldn't be able to fit it all back in. So that was challenging. But other than that, like the drive was wonderful. I played, there's like, traveling, podcasts, ghost stories. It was almost Halloween. So we were doing all of that, getting to know each other, asking questions, listening to music. And we drove probably between 8 to 10 hours a day, averaging 9. And then we would stop, in certain states. I kind of had it laid out, not totally planned out, but kind of an idea. Well, if we drive this many hours, we'll get to this place and then we'll stay there for the night. Things really worked out well until the very end, when it was the weekend. And, I have the dog, so you have to plan for a hotel that accepts pets. And so Nashville, I really wanted to stay in Nashville. And that didn't happen because they didn't have any more rooms left that accepted pets. So I had to go about 15 minutes out of Nashville. And then by that time, my husband was too tired and we never actually saw Nashville. So that's my only regret. And we will be taking another road trip just to go back to Tennessee and check that area out. But it was a wonderful drive. It was quality time with the family. And we took our time. We didn't rush it.
You kept your California job, and then so now, how has the adjustment been working on the East Coast, but on Pacific time, if that makes sense?
Yes, so that is true. I did. I have kept my job, and my meeting. So I had a standing meeting at 1 o'clock every day. Now it's at 4 p.m. for me. So my whole office, my Alexa in my office is Western time. Pacific time, and my computer is also. And so I'm just always like, I'll look at the clock and then oh, it's only 7 a.m. over there. Nobody's even at their desk. I have time to clean up the house or go to the grocery store. So I'm kind of working like a swing shift, sort of say, kind of a way, swing shift, I would say. But I like it. I have the mornings free. I could work in the mornings if I wanted to, but I prefer to be there when everyone else is there. And especially since I have the 4 o'clock meeting now.
Yeah, because if you start working too early before they get there, then before you know it, you're working, a crazy long day because you're working till they're finished, but you've already started early.
Right.
So
yes.
Yeah, it takes an adjustment, because when I was in California, everybody I worked with was on the East Coast. And it's easier and now my boss, he's in San Diego right now, so we've swapped. And to me it's easier working on the East Coast with people who are based on, on the Pacific coast. So I'm trying to, so in terms of, so obviously you've got beautiful trees behind you. You've not been in South Carolina too long, but you're loving it so far and everything's been great and you've got no regrets.
No regrets.
Okay.
No regrets. Now the holidays haven't come. Mm-hmm. I am concerned about Christmas, because every Christmas I always had a big, everything happened at my house. I had a big party. All the kids were there. My extended family, my sister, my mom. So this is going to be a much more subdued Christmas, and without them. So I mean, we will do the FaceTime, but I'm sure that's going to be a little bit difficult. That'll be the struggle, because right now I'm doing great. Like it's fun to explore. There's so much to see. We find new ways to go to this store or that store and see all the trees, and it's so beautiful here, and I really love it. So we're just kind of busy exploring. But come the holidays, I'm sure that I'll be going back on the page, looking to see how other grandmas got through it.
The big thing for me is knowing that it's going to be something that's going to be emotional for you, accepting those emotions, that it's going to be difficult, but you know that, and then the 95% of the rest of your life makes up for that 5% of like, oh, and then you'll make your new traditions, and you'll do things.
That's right.
With your boys, with your husband, and then you'll make it so much fun that everybody from California will want to come and spend Christmas with you.
Yeah. Well, and I already have plans, right? I have some family members that are coming in January. So that's something to look forward to. Yeah. And I'm excited. I'm excited for them to come here, because I've already kind of planned it out. Oh, we're going to take them here, there, and that way. And we're going to drive through that way because it's the most beautiful. It'll entice them. They'll want to live here.
I love it. It's all about having you are a very good planner, and you're very organized. And so it's when you have that plan, when you're very clear on what you want and what the downsides could be, it makes it all so much easier.
Yeah, I will say that the thoughts of moving, I have a giant safe, that's just thousands of pounds and very difficult to move. And so the thought of all of that, moving my entire life across the country, stressed me out, and it just overwhelmed me. And I wasn't sure that, that I could do it. And when you say that I was organized, I never felt like I was organized. I never felt, but until I did your course on your relocation course, and it kind of gave me like the psychology questions, asking questions. Why do you want to leave? What's your time frame? How do you plan on doing it? Your thought process on it. So when it was all laid out on paper, I realized I do understand what I'm doing. And you really supported that, and you said, oh, you absolutely know what you're doing. This is not some crazy harebrained idea. You have thought this out. You've planned it. All you need to do is execute it, and you can do it. And so you kind of inspired me when I saw that I met you, and you had come from Florida, and originally from England to Georgia, and traveled the whole United States. I was like, if she can do it, she could just get up and move. Why can't I do it? What's wrong with me? Why can't I find the bravery and courage to do that? And so that was, I really feel like meeting you was really kind of the catalyst to me actually executing this plan. So I thank you for that.
Well, I thank you for giving me the inspiration, because just for a bit of background for everybody watching, when I met Candice, I was doing time management and goal setting and all of these things. And it was her who said, you should help people in my group. And here I am, 8-9 months later. So Candice and I have both been kind of mutually like helping each other. But it's, you do just sometimes you just need someone to inspire you, which is why this group is so good, which is why I do interviews with people like you, because there's someone watching you who's probably fearful of moving, leaving all their family, being that pioneer person, and your story will inspire them to do it. So I thank you for that. Anything else before we finish that you want to say to anyone who, is scared to leave California or struggling with leaving family?
If it's possible, if it's something it's pulling on you, listen to it. I really think that we need to listen to that. There's something to be said about listening to your intuition. And so if it's pulling you, then it's time to make bite the bullet and do it and figure it out. I was lucky and fortunate enough to bring my job with me. Some of you are not. And so if this is something you really want to do, I would really focus on getting some sort of employment in place, and then the rest will fall in if this is really meant for you.
Yeah, and right now is it's the best time to find a job in another state because everybody's just desperate for.
That's right. They are. They are. And people understand. People understand in other states why some people in certain states want out and support it. And we'll support you. And then there's me, if you have questions or if you want to reach out to me and ask me anything, I'm available. Alison too. You can ask her anything. She's available. So we're a support system. We're here for each other. We all pretty much are on the same page as far as, why we left or why we are leaving California. So we understand each other and we're here to support each other.
Well, thank you so much. You are one of the most inspiring people I know. And so thank you for sharing your advice and your experience with everybody in the group.
Thank you so much. Thank you.